and that culture is just a system of ways of morally solving problems for the greater benefit of the whole society and the increasing ability of people to produce a life that is fit for human beings, which is progressive and therefore will produce more young and more sort of rational human beings. At some point, somebody must have said, well, you know, it's not a cop-out to say, if I don't know something, then, you know, the sun is like the concept of God or something. The sun is responsible for most of the energy that we get, you know. That's not an argument for worshipping the sun as a god, but I mean, that at the basic level of religion, there is a truth in saying that the sun is a very powerful part of our lives, you know, in terms of the energy it gives to crops and all that. It's where people start to kill each other for irrational reasons, like to make the sun go up and down in the air, in thing. That is the sort of where religion breaks away from philosophy and science, which is based, philosophy and science being based on reason. You know, when those new people come into the community or anything else, if somebody says, I own the land, right, because I have force of arms that says I do, you know, rather than under the law saying, we swear to uphold the law of the Constitution, right, under God, you know, that is maybe asserting a political idea that God exists on all the other people in a community who may not agree or may not agree. But can you really unseat the concept of God? If God is a totality in the human mind of being the absolute level of reason, right? In sort of the Western tradition of logos as logos being reason and reason being God, the same thing, yeah. Rather than not sort of the Middle Eastern idea of God as an absolutism, as sort of a despot, basically, of the Abrahamic religions, which is what people have the real problem with, you know. From a psychological and legal point of view, that it's important that God exists as a concept in law, because no dictator can unseat God. If he does exist, you know, then what power on earth can resist such thing as reason? We've not yet invented anything more powerful than reason, which is in every human being. And if God does not exist, there's no one there for the dictator to unseat. That is why in law courts people swear to God on their various religious books or philosophical books, or the Queen swears to God to do something on behalf of the people because the people own the monarchy, or the President of the United States, or the Chancellor of Germany, or whatever, right? That's why it's important, you know, that there is something beyond the reach of totalitarianism and despotism, you know, either legally or not. And if somebody does achieve despotism, as many times they have, and many times they've been removed, it's because people have used that what evolution has given them from the atheist or agnostic perspective, which I might subscribe to, or the theist view that God helps man in some way, or placed in human mind that there is a God, and that he gave men and women reason, human beings reason to figure out the world, you know. Perhaps an interesting philosophical idea, you know, being that from Stoic and Epicurean philosophy, being that logos, or rather Stoic philosophy, because the Epicureans didn't believe in logos completely. They were sceptical about it. They were sceptical about reason, which is reason used to defeat reason. But if the logos exists as reason, throughout and is empirical throughout the whole universe, or the only way that humans can make sense of it, then it's a process which God is within and subject to. You know, He may be subject to no other thing other than like the Logos in terms of human beings' interaction with said God, whatever, you know. But it would be important to understand that, and that irrationality to say we suppose something which we can't actually prove on either side of the argument is where you're going to get into a situation where there is a communication which is done through a failure, which is of course conflict. And you know, as I will talk about in other videos on militarism, militarism is just a systematic way of communicating in some way that you, or a symptom of communication that you don't agree with something that the other person is doing, which is the underlying failure of communication. It's a bit of a loop. So we've gone right from chemical biological molecules to the highest sort of so far that we've reached in the Western tradition, at least, of philosophy and evolution all through it. Okay, so please watch all this video. This video was originally sparked about the major effect that flowers had on producing a trade and barter and bribe system within evolution, and that's what sparked this whole debate and a bit of tangent I've gone on. But I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for listening to this immensely long series. Thank you, bye.